All right, should we get started, Kirby?
Let's do it.
All right, let's play the intro. Hello, everyone. Welcome to School News, April 1st, 2025. It's also the opening ceremony of the school games for Q2, right? So the leaderboards just started for Q2 school games. We're going to light the torch at the end, which is sitting behind Kirby there. We're going to light that thing up. And school games, you can win one of these badass physical awards, and you can come out for an event in LA, like a one-day event where Hormozi's going to be there. You get a tour of Skool HQ. You get to hang out with the other winners. Um, and yeah, so let's get into it. We've got quite a few things to cover today. So first of all, I just want to cover some like what's new on Skool, like features and things, just to give you an update. So the onboarding video now plays in different languages. So, we released this feature recently where, there's an onboarding widget that your members will see, and we give you a video that works by default, and you can customize it. You can change it to your own video if you want. And, one thing we were hearing was, oh, this video is great, but my group's in Spanish or whatever, right? So now it's auto dubbed in all of these different languages. And if your member's browser is set to be in like Spanish or something, then it will automatically play in that. Oh, this is muted, so.
Aquí está el aula, donde encontrarás cursos. Aquí está el calendario, donde encontrarás llamadas. Możesz uczestniczyć na żywo lub ou les ajouter à votre calendrier. Et
Yeah,
voici une
so that
carte.
does that automatically. Pretty cool.
That's so cool.
So that just does that automatically. What else have we got? Now, free trial improvements. So, we've been getting some feedback about the free trial feature for a while. This is the free trial for memberships. So the 7-day free trial you can offer your members, right? It's a very well adopted feature. People use it a lot, but there was a few things that people requested. The first one was the ability for members to skip the free trial and just upgrade now and pay immediately, right? So now your members can see this thing here that says skip trial / upgrade now. And it says, are you sure? Upgrade. And then bam, they're paying. Trial's over, right? So this feature is live right now. And then 5-day trial decline period instead of 14. So what used to happen before was if you gave a member a 7-day free trial and their card declined, it would attempt to charge them, like 8 times or something over 14 days, right? To maximize the opportunity for them to not decline, right? But people did not like that, it seemed. They were like, 14 days is too long because that means essentially they get a 21-day trial. And, we saw this meme. It's not entirely accurate because it's 21 days instead of 30, but you get the point. So now it's 5 days, right? So if someone's on a 7-day free trial and then they decline, we will try charging their card like 4 more times, I think, over 5 days and then kick them out. Now, why 5? Why not just kick them out immediately? Well, a lot of people's cards decline at the end of a trial for innocent reasons, like the bank might be blocking it or something like that. And you don't want to kick people out immediately. That's not a good user experience for them. And it also means your trial conversion rate's not going to be as good because a lot of declines will actually fix themselves on the subsequent retries. So we think 5 is a nice balance, right? And now you will be able to see this if you can see it in here. So if someone's trial declines, it'll say removing in 5 days instead of churns in 14 days, right? So that's done. Now, canceling and churned members tab, the ability to like differentiate trial declines and trial cancels from customer declines and customer cancels, right? Before, they used to kind of look the same. Like if someone was on a trial and then they canceled and then they just show as churned, or if a customer was paying and then they canceled and then they just show as churned, it looks like you have all of these churned members, but really they're not churned. They're like trial cancels, right? Which isn't really the same thing. And if a trial declined, it would just say declined. And if a customer declined, it just said declined. And you're like, oh my God, are these all trials declining or are these customers declining? You just couldn't tell, right? So now what we do is we make it a lot more clear. So here you can see that this person's was on a trial and they're declining, and it's removing them in 2 days, right? Then you can see this person was a customer. It says canceled, and they're churning in 29 days, right? So now it's more clear. Like a customer either cancels or declines and they churn, and a trial can decline or cancel and they're removed, right? So hopefully this is a lot more clear. And then on the churned tab, we show you, if it says churned, it means that the customer, actually canceled and churned. But if their trial ended or declined, it will just say trial ended, right? So you can differentiate from here too. And I think that makes things a lot more clear. This might seem a little bit too technical for someone that hasn't actually used this feature, but the people that are using this feature a lot, I'm sure they understand the purpose of it. Are people enjoying it in the chat, Kirby?
Yup, it's good. Very good.
All right. So another one that's kind of specific, but very useful if you've ever experienced this. So the ability to search for churned and banned members, right? So before, if a member had churned, you couldn't search for them. And same if a member was banned, you couldn't search for them. And so like people were going to the churned and banned tab and like going next, and clicking tapping Command F and trying to find, and having to navigate through like 14 pages to find the person they're looking for, which sucks really bad. So now you can do all of that from here. So here it says, I'm on churned and it says search churned members, and you can just search for someone in churned and it will find them. Same for banned. It says search banned members and you can search for them too, right? So now you can search for active members, churned members, and banned members. Should make your life a lot easier.
I've spent way longer than I'd like to admit looking through all those pages to try unban someone, so that's sick.
Yep. And now we show the invited by column on the member CSV export. So, if you go to active members and you click export here, it'll export a CSV file. And there's a column in there that says invited by, and it says the person's name. Now, why would you want to use this? Some people are wondering, like, how can I tell how many people this person's referred or something? Now, this is an easy way to do that. We might make something like that into an actual feature, but at least this is something you can use immediately. So you'll be able to see how many people someone's invited, things like that. If you know how to use Excel, that means you can essentially make a little leaderboard of like referrals and things like that. So that should be useful. Now let's move to the group switcher updates. So, another thing that's interesting is people are starting to join more and more like communities, and that's actually really good. Like from all the data we've looked at, when someone is in more than one community, their retention is way higher. It's one of the leading indicators actually. because it's more reasons to visit something, right? And the people's group switches were starting to get quite bloated, right? Like a lot of stuff accumulating in there. And so we wanted to give you guys some features that could help you organize all the different communities you're in. So I'll show you what that looks like. So now you can drag and drop from within the switcher itself, right? Which is makes life a lot easier. And this will change the order. What else did we do? Oh, and the sidebar. So if you go to your group, you can drag and drop from here too, right? And then you can pin things to your sidebar, right? And then you can drag and drop from here too. So you can drag and drop from here, you can drag and drop from here, and you can drag and drop from here, right? And no more clicking see more. So before, if you were in quite a few communities, you'd click this, you could only see so many of them, and then you had to keep clicking like see more, see more. It sucked really. So now, we condensed this view is a bit more compact now. So we actually fit more groups in so you can see more like immediately. And then as you scroll down, we just load them automatically without you having to click see more, which would, if you're in multiple groups, that makes your life a lot easier. We also give you the option to hide groups from your switcher. Like, let's say you were in a group and you still want to be in that group, but you want to hide it. Well, now you can, will click this like hide thing. So let me show you how it works. So this dogs group, I can see right now it's in my switcher, right? And if I go to dogs and I hide it, I'm still in this community, but it's no longer in my switcher, right? So the use case for this is, I've got some old courses I made like 5 years ago, maybe longer. And I can't delete those groups or leave them because a lot of customers still need access to that. But I don't want that in my switcher, right? Because I don't need to go there, but all of those customers do. And so I would hide that one from my switcher, right? So I'm still in it, it's still there, but it's basically invisible to me. So I think with these changes, you'll be able to, hide things that you don't really need to see ever, but you still want to be in the group, and prioritize things. So move the groups you want to use the most towards, at the top. And then the groups you want to use all the time, you can pin them to the sidebar. It gives you a lot of flexibility to do basically whatever you want to do. And then what we're going to do is we're going to show new groups that you either create or that you join at the top of your switcher instead of at the bottom. Because what ends up happening is, you make a new group or you join a new group and it gets put right at the bottom, and then you basically forget, right? And so if it's at the top, you're way less likely to forget. And then if you don't want to be in that group, you could always leave it, or you could move it down to the bottom. So it basically encourages reorganizing of the switcher. Now, these features here are all live, right? Like right now, these ones I'm highlighting, all live right now. These features will probably be live tomorrow morning, like I just showed you in a staging environment. So we've already built it and everything. It's just being tested and it will ship like tomorrow. And then a feature we're working on too is the ability to delete a group if you're the owner. So you'll be able to go from here and click settings, and you'll be able to delete it. And there'll be a lot of security things in there to make sure you can't accidentally do it and things like that. So don't worry about that. But sometimes you have an idea for something, you make it, things change, and you're like, you don't need it anymore, right? And it's nice to just be able to get rid of it. And right now you can't do that. So that will be good. And with all of these, you know, new features, like the ability to drag and drop, hide, pin, all of these things, and delete, it's basically allowing you to do some spring cleaning on Skool, because, you know, the spring season started recently, and we've been doing some spring cleaning internally. And yeah, we think it's a good theme for people on the platform to do too. Like, clean up all the communities you're in. And yeah, if you've made a whole bunch of groups that you don't want anymore, soon you'll be able to delete them. Yeah. And speaking of the whole spring cleaning thing, that brings me to my next point, the 50 group limit crisis. So when we were working on, you know, all of these spring cleaning features and dragging and dropping and reordering, we were like, should there be a limit on the number of communities people are in? And what's interesting is, you know, we talked to a lot of people, and I would say like 90%, maybe even like 95% of people said yes. Like, who needs to be in more than like 50 communities? That's crazy. And then what we did is we looked at, and this is like why we did it. So we asked a lot of people. Then we looked at the data. We were like, who's in the most communities? And then we spot checked them. We were like, is this person banned? Or like, what was this person doing? Why are they in so many? And I would say most people that were in many groups were doing something bad, and they had been suspended, basically, right? So we're like, okay, well then let's just put a limit on. Let's put it on for like 50. And then I would say, you know, 95% of people didn't care, but there was 5% of people who did, and they cared a lot. And there was a lot of complaining in the Skool community. And then we really thought about it a lot. And yes, it is like a abuse vector, like for bad actors, but it's also used by some people who are good actors too. And they're either community managers, like they want to be in a lot of communities so they can, because that's their job, because they're getting paid to do community management, or they're like advisors on community building, or they're just like hardcore obsessed, right? And it reminded me of this thing I heard about Wikipedia, that something like 90% of the edits on Wikipedia are done by like a group of 80 people. And these people like edit on Wikipedia like for 16 hours a day. And it's like, we don't want to limit the people who are hardcore passionate about Skool. And we figured we'll just find another way to stop the people who are abusing it, right? Without limiting the good people. And so, yeah, wanted to apologize for that. And yeah, we have to make a lot of changes at Skool. You know, like this whole Skool News is about things that we've changed, and people are always asking for us to change things. But what you got to keep in mind is everything we change, there's always a risk that we make a mistake, right? And yeah, we will definitely make some mistakes for sure. But I think what's important is that the community voices those things, and then we actually fix them. And that's what happened here. So yeah, we removed the limit. Yeah, that's about it. Now let's do some shout outs. So some cool things that have been happening in the community recently. So Josh Madakor had a pretty cool post. Let me just go to Skool. This post here. This is a really good post if you haven't seen it. So Josh won the Skool Games Q1 that just ended, and he had 108 grand MRR and 11.27% churn. And here's, you know, some proof. This is a good looking dashboard, by the way. Like, to hit 100K MRR is like over $1 million a year. And this is exceptionally good churn. Just to put this in perspective, like most SaaS companies do not get churn this low. Like I know many SaaS companies that you guys probably know and use very well, and their churn is 20 to 30%. So like to be able to earn, this is like being able to earn SaaS level revenue with better than like SaaS churn with content, which is amazing to see. And if you look at this write-up here that Josh had, it's his approach. Like I love his approach. Like I think this is really what like Skool's built for, building these kinds of communities. And yeah, just wanted to give him a shout out and congrats on winning Skool Games with a cybersecurity community.
It's a really cool group. And I remember when we released the MRR payment scheme, and a lot of people's reaction was, you can't have info, you can't have a product like this be recurring. But this is just proof that you clearly can.
Yeah. Like I've heard it many times, you know, we wanted to try something new. We knew the problem with the one-time purchase business model, right? It's you sell it to everyone you can, and then you have to make another product, which sucks. And then you have to change, you have to say, oh, that other thing I taught you, it doesn't work anymore. So now it's this thing. And then you're constantly doing launches, you're constantly changing what you sell, and you're kind of just burning out your audience. So sure, you don't have churn, but you have churn of like you and your products, right? So I'm pretty sure everyone knows like the problems with one-time purchase revenue, right? And so we figured subscription revenue is a lot better because you get paid, you know, every month, and you can build on top of what you did last month, right? But then, you know, a lot of people initially, they were saying, oh, but what about churn? Oh, you can't sell like info with monthly, there'll be churn. And we were just thinking, well, let's see. People were smart, people figure it out. And they have. I think when we first started, the average churn across the platform was something like 30%, right? Which is on the higher end, but still not extremely high. Because if you look at Stripe's global benchmarks for subscription revenue in the consumer space and media, consumer and media, average churn is 20 to 30, right? So that was on the higher end of average, but still not that bad. And then we've watched it every single month go down. And there's two things happening there. So the first one is like we're making a lot of changes. So like we're tweaking things on our side to lower everyone's churn. Like how many times we retry, the emails we send, the UI tweaks we make, like all kinds of things. Also like that onboarding widget, right? Like if people download the app and like a post, we've noticed that they tend to retain longer. So there's those things, but also people are iterating their approach on the platform. So like what they offer, and how they structure their products. And now global churn platform wide's at like 18%, which is better than the global average, like for subscriptions. And that's the average. We've seen people with as low as like 0.5% churn. But generally speaking, if you get sub 10%, that's really good. Most software companies can't get below 10% churn. So to do that with info proves that this business model absolutely works. Which is really cool to see, especially getting to like 100K MRR and almost being at 10% churn. This is really badass. This is like the ultimate business. I always thought like if you could make 100 grand a month with sub 10% churn with one community, that's pretty awesome. And then shout out to Quincy Patty, who has a drum and bass group, and he came number 3 in the music category. So here's his post here. And yeah, it's awesome to see so many music communities coming on the platform. You know, we created the category. It's a new category from earlier this year, and already so many music communities have come on. And we can see his group here. So it's for DJs and producers. And yeah, he came third in the music category. If I go here, oh, there's some current rankings. Music, yeah. So shout out to Quincy and the music communities. And also drum and bass. I've been working on a drum and bass playlist for the cat. We're just trying to figure out, what does a drum and bass cat do? Does it have an afro? Does it, like, what does it do?
I think it needs rave sunglasses.
But that drum and bass is different than raving.
I know, but like, anyway.
The drum and bass people will not appreciate it. Yeah. All right. So Q2 Skool games have begun. If you go to leaderboards here, go to Schoolers, click on games, bam. And we're already seeing some groups rank on the leaderboards.
These leaderboards have just launched, so there is a tiny glitch where groups are coming up as duplicates, but that'll be solved pretty quick.
Yeah, so the Skool games Q2 started 29 minutes ago. And you can see here, so it starts today and ends June 28th at 10 a.m. Pacific. So a 90-day challenge. And yeah, all you need to do to compete is make a community on Skool and get members to join, and your MRR will show on the leaderboards. And it's a competition of who can grow their MRR the most in a 90-day period. So, you know, this number here is current MRR, and this is growth since the period started, right? And so churn is factored into this, which is really good. So if you're getting members, but they're leaving the following month, then, you know, you don't grow by anything, right? And yeah, the results from the previous games, Q1, was really awesome to see. This new focus on reducing churn is really refreshing, honestly. Like all of these people who are building really good communities with good MRR and low churn in all of these different interesting niches. So, yeah.
And all of those people who won Q1, at the moment, they're booking their flights to come out to LA. We're paying for their flights, we're paying for their accommodation, and we're having a big event in April. So it'll be very exciting. And all of the recordings of that will be released for free inside of Schoolers.
Yep. So you get, this is what the prize is, top 5 in each category, right? Visit Skool HQ, get a tour, meet Hormozy, and hang out with the other winners for a whole day, and you get the Skool Games trophy. This thing right here.
It's heavy.
Yep. It's a badass trophy. Look at it shine.
Ooh.
Right. So let's light that torch. Let's go out there and do it.
This is where Sam runs from one room to the other room.
I'm going to stop sharing my one, actually. I'm going to turn
I can pin myself. Boom. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Yep, Pat says, let the games begin. Kai Nember has spotted the Easter egg, which I won't say. He's here. Ooh. Yeah. Let's go. Fire.
See you guys soon.
See ya.